do you have some questions? How are you doing with the practice? First of all, how are you doing? Awesome. Sababa. Yeah, it's different than probably what you get mostly in Israel is Dharma light, right? You get Dharma light. This is Dharma. And then you're like, whoa, good heavens, what? Okay. So it sometimes connects right away, and sometimes it takes some repetition. But if you had never studied before, it would have a good impact, but it has even more impact if you have done a little bit of study, like some of you have done. So just slowly, but is anybody totally bamboozled? I think we lost a couple after the first session. They looked a little freaked out. Understandable. They thought it was just going to be blissful and quiet. No, I don't know what they thought. But is anybody overwhelmed? How you doing?
I just have a small question.
Sure.
If this is, I mean, I'm not familiar with this Lama Tsongkhapa, this one.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to do the Vajrasattva instead?
During the confession part, absolutely. It's during the purification. It's there's one taste in emptiness, no difference. All Buddhas are equal. All Buddhas are the same. But when you're doing a specific practice, it's good to do the formula of that practice so that you get the result of that practice. And so the result of this practice is that combination of compassion, wisdom, and power, whereas the emphasis of Vajrasattva is pretty much purely purification. So this is purification plus connecting with qualities, ripening qualities. So Vajrasattva is amazing and incredibly important, but it's a slightly different emphasis than here. So it does take a little bit to kind of get your head around it, which means it's harder to kind of visualize and just tune into the energy of it. There can be an awkwardness when you're just trying to get used to new words, and that's really normal. And there's kind of no way around that but just repetition. But go as slowly as you want. Take it easy. It could be that one session you just focused on the first line, the next session really focused on the second line, or just slowly working your way through. It's okay to leave out the middle line. That's the one permission you get. So if you want to leave out a line, you can leave out the middle line. Yeah.
I know compassion and purification, but what is the power part of this?
Yeah, the Vajrapani part. What's the Vajrapani part about? Destroyer of the entire host of Maras, or enlightened power, or skillful means. Maybe you've heard it termed as skillful means. It's this ability to kind of influence others in a way that is really positive. Yeah, to be a very powerful, positive influence. There's some people that as soon as they come into the room, everyone behaves better. It could be out of fear, but it could be out of like feeling inspired and wanting to kind of live up to some standard that they're coming in with. There can be people that come into the room and everyone is happier when they're there because they just have such a joyful outlook. So there's a lot of different ways this kind of power can manifest, but it is something that we want, that if we're practicing a spiritual path, we want our radius of influence to be bigger and bigger and bigger so that we can really be of some use in this world in a really deep and profound way. So of course, if we are compassionate and wise, that's going to make us happy, and our immediate friends and family will be happy about that. But if we can have a really powerful life, that's something that can have a ripple effect that's really amazing. So this is the power that we're talking about: skillful means, positive influence, this kind of thing. And also to subdue the negative states of mind of others. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that answers the question that I was going to ask you.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It repeats itself, but it says, I myself will cause them to abide in. So I was saying, what, I cause them? But now I understand maybe.
Yeah, the 4 immeasurable thoughts, it kind of has these levels of, here's what would be good, here's what I'd like to do about it, I'm going to do it, I need help, right? It kind of goes in these layers. So if you want to look at the 4 immeasurable thoughts, we can unpack that a little more, because you're right, it has a similar idea. So on page 4, I think, yeah, the 4 immeasurable thoughts. Yeah, so we'll just look at immeasurable equanimity as the example. So it starts out with how wonderful it would be, right? How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to abide in equanimity, right? If they were free from that attachment and that hatred and that indifference, how wonderful would that be? So you're just connecting with, what do you want life to be about? Yeah, I mean, we know in general, but it helps to kind of clarify and crystallize, what do we want our life to be about? And so, okay, how wonderful it would be, then may they, and then, oh wait, I myself will cause them to abide in equanimity. So it's not like a forcing them to be equanimous. It's like, by the power of our own equanimity, we inspire them to be the same. Yeah, so we lead by example. So if I want other people to be equanimous, I need to engender equanimity in myself and really integrate. Yeah, and and I think sometimes the translation even says inspire. Yeah, so it's a translator choice, but there's something about a cause feels very direct, doesn't it? You can't really cause anyone's mind to do anything. You can be a condition, right? But you can't be a substantial cause, because all substantial causes are within the mind stream of the individual. But you can be a powerful condition. And the best way to be a powerful condition is to maintain close, strong relationships with people and then develop yourself. The more you develop, the more they have immediate benefit from that. So you are, in a way, causing them, but not in a substantial cause way. Yep. Yeah, it's a good question. So then, please, Guru, deity, bless me to be able to do this. What does blessing mean? What is a blessing, right? Because then it sounds like now you're asking the Buddhas to cause you to do something, right? And can they? If they could, they would have already, right?
That could be inspiration
for you.
Yeah.
They can help you see past steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, really, a blessing is something that helps your mind transform. So anything that helps your mind transform, we call a blessing. You know when you've heard the same teaching 10 times, but the 10th time it touches you finally? And it's not like it's new information, but it just kind of went, oh, right, yes, that is true. It just sunk in. We would call that a blessing, not in the sense that we've been injected with insight, but in the sense that our mind has finally been inspired to connect more deeply than intelligence. So when we're requesting blessings, we're really opening up the pathway between us. Yeah, between us and the Buddhas, so that all that benefit that they're flooding us with can actually touch us. Yeah. Bless me to be able to do this. So bless, yes, and inspire, certainly, just by their example. But there is something that happens when you open yourself up, that you hear things differently. Yeah, if you only ever go to class, it's a good and wonderful thing, and you will develop wisdom. But if you do other practices to support your study will be easier. You know, it could be that if you reread the same book 10 times, you'll finally get it. Or you could read the book once, do some retreat, read the book again, and then get it. Yeah, because it's working on a different part of your mind when you do practice. Anyway, more on the 4 immeasurables while we're there. Equanimity, love, compassion, joy. The classics.
I'm happy that you can talk a little bit more about the Tonglen.
Yeah, more about Tonglen. Yeah, sure. Here it's broken up into kind of take, give, take, give. It can be done separate from the 4 immeasurables, just as its own practice. It can be done together with a visualization, and it can be done together with riding on the breath. So the simplest form would be As you breathe in, you imagine you're breathing in dark, heavy, polluted black smoke, taking on all the suffering of all sentient beings, breathing it in, right, counterintuitively, giving it to your self-cherishing thought, and it weakens it, so you're released from it. And on the out-breath, you breathe out golden light, which is all the happiness and roots of virtue and all the stuff to all sentient beings. Now, just doing this, riding on the breath, you're basically, in-breath is compassion. May sentient beings be free of their suffering. Out-breath is loving kindness. May they have happiness. So it's just really compassion, love, compassion, love. Yeah? May they not have this, may they have that. May they not have this, may they have that. May they not suffer, may they have happiness. But when you live in this way, it means that your own suffering is actually less. Yeah, when you think I voluntarily take on my suffering and I voluntarily take on everyone else's suffering doesn't hassle you anymore. Yeah, a lot of our issues with other people are because we want them to be the version that we like. Yeah? We're like, I like you, but particularly just that version, that one day, I liked you then. Be like that, right? If you think I take on all of your suffering, then they can be in a terrible mood, they can be really rude, they can ignore you, they can do a million different things, and you've already decided that that's part of what you've taken on. So there's not that resistance to, why aren't you the way I like? Yeah? Because you already decided. It's just like the bodhisattva practice where you imagine you're giving up your whole body. So then if someone asks you to do something like move furniture, you don't feel like they're inconveniencing you because you already gave them your body. They're just, you know, they're just asking for the thing you already offered. So you don't have that resistance. So a lot of our suffering is twice as much as it needs to be because of our resistance. Self-cherishing makes our suffering worse. And that's the thing that we don't understand about self-cherishing. It really, whatever is going on for us, makes it 10 times worse because your focus is on it. Yeah. So the boring example that I always like is if you're hiking in the woods by yourself with a rock in your shoe, that rock in your shoe bothers you every single step and you have to stop and get it out. Right? It just really aggravates you and you can become so tense about it. If you're walking in the woods trying to show other people the way, you might have a rock in your shoe in the same way and it's sort of annoying you, but you're far more focused on, are they safe? Are they okay? Is everyone having a good time? And it kind of fades into the background of your consciousness. And it's not like there isn't discomfort, right? But do you know how it just kind of fades to the background naturally? Of course, in both cases, stop and get the rock out. But it's about what happens to your mind when you fixate on your own problems. They expand, and they take over your whole worldview. And the side effect of that is that you become unbearable to be around. Because as soon as you start talking to people, you tell them about what's wrong for you. And it's like, sucks all the air out of the room. Yeah? You know that feeling, right? When you're with someone who it's always all about them, how exhausting that is, right? So sometimes we're that guy. Oh no! Sometimes we're that guy, right? So, you know, as soon as we're others focused, we are relaxed and they are relaxed. And it's different than sort of pretending that you don't have suffering. That's also unbearable. Right? If you say, oh no, everything's fine, people are like, no, it's not. Yeah, that's also unbearable. That's not true, it's inauthentic. So there's that razor's edge of being with what is true without indulging in it or identifying with it. So when you do Tonglen, you're putting everything in perspective. You're saying, just like me, all sentient beings suffer and want to be free of their suffering. Let me take on mine and theirs and give it to the troublemaker. Just like me, all sentient beings want happiness. May they have happiness. Let me send it from my place, which is actually an endless wellspring of happiness. If I stopped interfering with my mind, with all of the afflictions and negativities, it would relax back into joy. Yeah, that our mind is naturally happy if we stop poking at it. Yeah. And we could even then lift it into a greater form of happiness. But never mind the happiness of enlightenment. Just everyday contentment is accessible to us if we let the afflictions just settle down and die. Yeah, we'd be like, yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, you just kind of go into a chill space. And we do this sometimes without realizing that we've done it, but we can orchestrate it. We can make it happen more often, and that's what Tonglen does for us. It clicks us back in to the right way of thinking. Yeah, it puts everything into the right perspective. So you just experiment, see how it goes. Yeah, other questions?
What is wisdom of composing?
Composing, you know, like musicians compose music. That's the word. That's where you hear that word the most often, is musicians composing music or writing music. For us, it's the wisdom that is able to articulate our thoughts in a clear way, whether in the written form or in the spoken form, so that when we actually understand something well, we're also able to explain it. You know, because there are lots of things that we do get, but then if someone is to say, can you explain it to me? We're like, yeah. Like, you know, compassion's a good idea. Some non-Buddhist says, so why do Buddhists think compassion's such a good idea? You say, 'cause it's good. You know, and you know all these other things deep in your experience, but you can't say them. So this wisdom of composition is to be able to articulate the wisdom that you have. Yeah.
Can you say something about the other wisdoms?
Sure, let's do the wisdoms. Turn to page, let's see, 13. So some of them are quite obvious. So at the bottom of page 13, where it says great wisdom, that is unimpeded in discerning the meanings of the infinite scriptures. It's like excessively complex English, right? But it just means you get it. Yeah, you get the stuff you read, right? Unimpeded means like unobstructed or without challenges. Yeah. Not in this context. Yeah, not in this context. But of course, ultimately, yes, you're quite right. It would be about emptiness, because that's the main impediment, is not realizing emptiness. Yeah. So it's really that when you read things, you understand them. When you hear things, that you understand them. And so then the visualization is of many, many Manjushris kind of cutting through ignorance. Does that make sense? So then page 14, we have clear wisdom. And it is just as it says, right? Clear wisdom that is not confused about subtle and detailed difficult points. Yeah, subtle and detailed. So it's like, not just may I understand, but may I understand the details and the specifics and those little nuances. Because it could be that all of the Dharma, you know, half of it applies to you in your life directly and you use all the time, and the other half, you can see why it's useful, but it's not something you're using all the time. But if you understand it well, it becomes a gift you can offer other people. You know, when they ask, when they're in the mood for it, when they're receptive, right? But the way that we all sort of become the teacher is so casual, right? And so colloquial. It's not like people know that we're being the teacher. But the more we're connecting with the outside teacher, the more we become the teacher in every circumstance we're in, but not in a patronizing way, right? Not condescending, but just in the, here is what I'm about, so it just leaks from me.
Or you realize people all of a sudden start asking advices that, why are you asking me? But
yeah.
Okay, let me try.
Yeah, exactly. People start noticing that, and they don't even know how to explain it, but they know that you might have an answer, and they start asking you things. Yeah. It's, so if you know the Dharma, not just the Dharma that interests you, but all the wisdom, all the forms of transformation, they become gifts to offer people so that they don't suffer. And it's a great kindness. So I want to know even the subtle and difficult detailed points, all of the things. Yeah, whether they interest me specifically or not, because they might be useful to someone else. So just slowly, you know, but it's a nice mentality to have. Yeah, so then you have the the Manjushri Mantra, which is Oma Rapatsana Di. You can visualize it in letters that are Tibetan, letters that are Hebrew, letters that are English. It doesn't matter. They should just represent those sounds. Oma Rapatsana Di. Or Arapatsana, just the core bit. Yeah. Generally speaking, may there be wisdom. Yeah. Yeah. So then quick wisdom, see, not kale kale, not slowly, slowly. Quick wisdom, page 15, which, as it says, quickly cuts through non-understanding, misunderstanding, and doubt. Yeah, so it's that kind of real sword of Manjushri cutting through the fog. Yeah, to really help us understand what on earth does the Dharma look like in my daily life? What makes sense? What's my actual level of ability as opposed to what I understand intellectually? Let me understand how to apply this stuff now, in this moment. And, with each of these, it's orange light coming from Lama Tsongkhapa and the two disciples, just as there was white light before, and the orange light carries different things. These things all do have great significance, but even just the simplest thing of try to picture it is very good for your concentration. Yeah, just try to picture it is very good for your focus and for your connection with the practice. So even if you're not completely sure what's up with all of this, to just experiment and see if you can kind of stretch your mind's abilities and just like have a go. Yeah. Just imagine, and you can use memories of things that are similar to give yourself a good visualization. You can think of sitting in a park on a sunny day when the rays were hitting you and just turn the color a little bit more orange. Yeah, and then add some hand implements. Done. Yeah, and make it just the right temperature. Yeah, like that. So, you don't have to pull it out of nowhere, use experiences that you have and then marry it up. But it can really, really help. Now, if you're someone that has to write as part of your job or has to do a lot of emails or has a complicated email to compose because there's some like family drama or workplace issue, if you did a meditation on the 7 wisdoms first, you would probably be in a very clear place to then write the thing you need to write. Yeah, coming from your best wisdom so far. So, this isn't just cool aspirational stuff. This can be very practical if you have big stuff going on. If you're studying and you're about to do your exam, do this practice. It's like, use it. Yeah, it's a tool. So it's a tool for enlightenment, but it's also a tool for everyday memory, wisdom, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. It says here that about the quick wisdom part, it says the form of orange, and then it has D-H-I-H syllables. What is the D-H-I-H?
D.
What's the sound?
D. Yes. D is the seed syllable of Manjushri. So the previous visualization was Amurapatsana. So for those of you that know Manjushri practice, the way it looks is like Om Arapatsana, and then in the center is the syllable D. And so that's like the essence of the meaning. And sometimes when you're making your meditation as simple and as direct, you just focus on that one essence syllable. So in this context, so in this context, you're just thinking orange light with lots of D's coming down in whatever characters you like. But the way it would be spelled in English is D-H-I-H because there's a lot of aspiration. It's not like D-E, it's like T, D, with some aspiration, with feeling, right? So, like this. Yep, okay, so profound wisdom is that is unfathomable in discerning the meanings of the scriptures. And I no doubt will trip over that word at some point, unfathomable. My tongue doesn't like it, I don't know why, but we don't use it in normal English, so you probably are wondering what? Unfathomable means really, really big and amazing. Yeah, unfathomable means you cannot fathom it, or comprehend it, or bring... It is. It is. So it's like you can't comprehend how big and profound it is, yeah? How deep is the sea? So profound wisdom. So not just the subtle, tiny details, but also the depth, right? The depth. Okay. Then, so that carries with it texts and swords. You can see the texts in the little sort of Tibetan text style, like in your picture on the lotus here. Oh, you can't really see it. Can't really see it, but anyway, there's a little flamey bit, and then under it is a text. Then on the other side is a sword, but because Lama Tsongkhapa is one in nature with Manjushri. So on his right side, there's a little sword coming out of the lotus, and on our left side, I should say, there's a little text underneath the little flamey bit, but it's not very clear in this picture. No, Manjushri is orange. He is not there. He is not there because Lama Tsongkhapa is there, and he is Manjushri and Chenrezig and Vajrapani together. Yes, but in your no, that's Maitreya. Manjushri though is in your commentary. Yeah, so in your PDF, in the commentary, there's a picture of all three of the deities. Reddy, orangey. Do we have one here? No. No. You would think we do, but anyway, he's got a sword. Yeah, there's a picture of Manjushri in your commentary. Yeah. Anyway, you can find it sometime. Let's see. So then we have Wisdom of Explaining, which is about explaining. Wisdom of Debating, which is about debating. But this is a good one, though, especially in a country like this, where once an argument starts, it gets a little crazy, yeah? Like, it's not like, no, what do you think? Sitting back listening, right? It's not so much like that, right? Tell me more about your thoughts. I'm actively listening. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So it's like, how do we actually want to debate? To think that of debate is like a collaboration of two minds trying to get to wisdom, right? And understand each other, but like play back and forth with the idea until together you find wisdom. Not, I win, right? And so it could be that it's this beautiful collaboration working together towards wisdom, but sometimes the other person has a wrong view, like a really destructive, unethical, harmful view. Does it work to just humiliate them into submission? Or talk over them until they shut up? Or just, right? Make fun of them till no one understands them. That's not the way we want to be, right? What we want to do is for their own wisdom to assert itself so they realize their mistake. Yeah, and that means we have to create an environment where we are very clear and certain, but also listening and not shaming. We are clear and certain, but still listening and not shaming. Yeah, not making people feel stupid for having come to the conclusions they came to, so that they feel safe to release their wrong view. Because, it could be that someone realizes their view is incorrect, but now their pride is all tied up with it. They're not going to let it go, even if they realize they're wrong. Yeah, they're just going to hold on to it because it's an identity thing now. So this one of debating is actually really powerful and something we really need so that we know the way to reach people's wisdom. Yeah, and the way to subdue someone's negative states of mind without oppressing the individual. Yeah. So it's a kind of strength and gentleness combination that takes a long time for us to sort out, but this one is quite profound, especially here. So then we talked about composing. Okay, and then we have the request, which is basically a summary. Yeah, a summary of here are the wisdoms that I want. And then on page 19, we had the foundation of all good qualities, which is what Ling Rinpoche is going to teach on in his first weekend. But it's a beautiful text, this foundation of all good qualities, because it's all of the steps to enlightenment in this very short summary. And it was written by Lama Tsongkhapa. So that's in there. See what we did there? And then there's this request to abide at the heart at the bottom of page 22. So this is a tricky one because technically unless you have highest yoga tantra, you shouldn't really do this part, particularly if you don't have a guru, right? But what you're trying to think is just deep heart connection with wisdom. Yeah, and what all of the details of requesting to abide at the heart are and mean, that can come as time goes by and as you get a root guru. But in the meantime, just think that your mind and the Buddha's mind become inseparable. Like there's this absorption. Yeah, like your minds mix.
But if you imagine at your heart, it's not like you're imagining yourself, so it's when you say that.
Yeah, you can think that. You can think that. And you can also do the simple visualization, which is Lama Tsongkhapa in the space in front comes and absorbs between your eyebrows rather than at your heart. That's okay. So like this. But really, what you're trying to think is outer guru, inner guru, merge. Yeah. And so there's a lot packed into that sort of simple sentence. It needs a lot of experimentation and thought and, you know, study and stuff like that. But even if you just kind of adopt that attitude and see what happens, there can sometimes be an interesting experience. And then we dedicate. Where do we want all of this energy to go towards? We want it to go towards our enlightenment so we can help other people's enlightenment so that the Dharma flourishes. And then we pray for the long life of 2 of our Lama Tsongkhapas, which is His Holiness and Lama Zopa. So that's the nutshell for overview of the practice. Yeah, other questions or concerns or whatevers?
This is the short sadhana, or there's even...
Well, you know, Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru Puja. Guru Puja is like the long version of this.
Oh, so we're doing puja, that's the reason why we're saying that way.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing retreat-ish, yeah. Rather than class, basically. We're not doing class, even though I'm talking like we're class, but we're doing practice. And this is kind of traditional Tibetan style to sit facing one another. And it can both help you focus, but if you're not used to it, it can be more distracting because you've got a person in front of you rather than the altar. So sometimes Western Gompas all turn to face the altar for retreats, even though it's more traditional to face each other. But if you can kind of let go of the specific people in front of you and just kind of be with the mutual support of the group energy, then you start to feel the benefit. So normally I'd be in line here with you. It's just works out better for the camera if I'm sitting here. But I would be sitting in line with you like I did at Nungne's. Yeah. Yeah, anything else? What did you have any different experience between English and Tibetan? One easier, one harder, one just different? How did it go? Is it painful?
Just different. Just if you just try to release it. Tibetan is challenging because we want to understand.
Yeah, you can't think about the meaning.
Yeah.
You're too concentrated if you said it wrong or right.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, there's a kind of a letting go that has to happen. Otherwise, it just feels tight and kind of awkward. Yeah, so you have to just kind of and just do your best. Yeah. And, you know, and you can just kind of briefly look up at the heading and know that's the main point of that verse. You go, oh, okay, refuge and bodhicitta. And then a number of syllables. But that's what we're doing, refuge and bodhicitta. Okay, next. Okay, 4 immeasurables. Yep, equanimity, that's what we're doing. Many, many syllables, you know. So if you just look at the heading, you know that's what you're tuning into. It can help you get into a less intellectually trapped space to do the Tibetan. But it's good to alternate because it kind of uses different parts of your mind and it uses different parts of your practice. When you get really good at it, you can just do Tibetan while reading the English, but that takes familiarity. Yeah, so just slowly. So when you're at home, do what you like. That's the point. If you do this practice at home, it's best not to skip any parts, but the 7 wisdoms part is optional. So if you just wanted to do Guru Yoga, you could jump over the 7 wisdoms like this. Yes. Any other questions? There'll be question and answer time tomorrow too if something comes up.
When you say that you have to imagine Lama Tsongkhapa before you, okay? For me it's difficult because it's in front of me, before, in the sky.
Yeah, in front of you, about an arm's length in front, here. Just go like this. And if you have the focus to think of Maitreya, then he's a little bit higher and up. So it's kind of like this, with or without sound effects.
And the nectar from where does it come?
Hmm?
The nectar, from where does it come?
The hearts.
From his heart.
Yeah, so from the hearts of...
From my heart.
Nope. So from his heart and their hearts, they join into one tube, and it goes to the crown of your head, and then flows through. And that's the biggest part of the visualization, is to think that it's like a shower, but a shower that goes inside and just clears out anything that's an obstacle internally and externally. So your negative karma, but also the results of your negative karma. Right, so there's your karma that hasn't ripened yet, that's just kind of brewing, waiting to give you suffering. You're clearing that. But also the karma that is already giving you suffering, mentally, verbally, physically. Yeah, because we have different physical weirdness that comes up. And we need to clear, even if it's just aches and pains, you know, even if just your knee hurts, that is the ripening of negative karma, right? So you're just flushing the whole thing. And then you're thinking any negativities in my mind that haven't ripened and the ones that are ripening, like the fact that our memory is not so good, that is old negative karma, right? We can clear it. We kind of feel like it's fate, you know, that it's sort of like we have to lose our memory as we get older because everyone else does. But my teacher is 83 and he's got a much better memory than I do. You know, he like memorizes whole texts. You're just like, all right, weirdo, show off. But it gives you a sense of what is possible, right? Is that, well, if you keep training it and you keep practicing, your mind can actually get clearer as you get older. And that's good news, right? Otherwise you think, oh man, it's all over for me. As soon as you're like, what, past 16 or something, you start just...
No, I always thought that you just forget things that are not important. But when you get older, just remember the important stuff. It's not true.
No, there's a whole extra thing that also happens, right? There's a whole extra thing that happens. But it doesn't have to. And you can actually make it go backwards a little bit. So even some of the nuns who are well into their 60s and 70s are sharp, so sharp, and they remember everything. And I think, yep, that's how I want to be. More Manjushri, right? Because some days I'm like, wait, what? Where am I going? What country am I in? Which side of the road should I be on? Oh no, right? Yeah, danger, right? You have those moments, right? Anyway, so these practices can really help with that. So anyway, the main thing about the visualization is the light flushing downward. If you can add the mantra, just slowly try, just under your breath. It does do something to your energy system.
This Manjushri practice with this mantra, is that a mantra is part of your everyday practice?
The whole this, yeah. But I usually just do 21. I don't do like a whole tons and tons, so it takes me 15 minutes.
And the Vajrasattva too?
At the end of the day, I'm more likely to do this one in the morning or the afternoon, and Vajrasattva at night.
Is it Vajrasattva always at night?
Really, any time is a good time, but right, any time is a good time for Vajrasattva. But yeah, it helps you kind of frame your day, because it kind of goes nicely at the end of the day of, okay, body today, how did I go? Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Oh, right, yep, took that pen from work. Whoops. No, whatever, yeah. And then, you know, verbally is probably our big one. So you think through your day, okay, maybe I wasn't a big fat liar, but I was probably divisive and critical. I was probably gossipy. I was probably a bit harsh with someone. That I want to purify, you know, and then especially mentally. So it works well at the end of the day, but if you prefer it in the morning, it's okay. Yeah. This is really nice for the morning because it kind of clears your head, especially if you don't wake up well. Yeah, if you don't wake up well, it helps kind of help you feel fresh again. And it's not got as much emphasis on all the 4 opponent powers in such a structured way. You know, you do want to think, in general, I regret actions of body, speech, and mind. In general, I want to do better. But it's a lot more about just kind of clearing what's there right now. So it's a nice morning one. And it's good to do guru yoga in the morning because then it helps you be with the guru-ness throughout the day. Comes in handy.
Is this recorded anywhere?
Yeah, it is. It is. I did this retreat at Chenrezig, and I was trying to get the recording of the whole thing, but just the mantra in its mini versions. I can send Shuki a link, and he can send to everybody. How's that? Yeah, I'll send you. And on the FPMT website, there's a Guru Yoga CD with Venerable Sarah doing all of these, and she has a lovely voice. She's English. Oh, yes, and of course, in a couple of weeks at a leisurely pace. Yes, at a leisurely pace with no pressure on our friend at all. It will be online. Yeah, like this. But yeah, on the FPMT Foundation shop, if you look at Guru Yoga, there's a little Guru Yoga CD that you can get the MP3s downloaded. Venerable Sarah reciting it is really lovely. And she has a very nice English accent. It's very posh.